Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about tabletop role-playing games and active system series. Alright, so active system series are pretty rare. They are rule systems for tabletop role-playing games that are so robust, so innovative, so exciting to other creators beyond the original designer of the rule system, that they support multiple worlds in multiple genres. There are actually not a lot of active system series. In fact, there's only 6, and I'm going to tell you about them right now. There is Genesys, there is Cypher, there is PBTA, which is Powered by the Apocalypse, there is Blades in the Dark, there is Tiny Universe, and there is Fate. Okay? So let's talk about them. All right, so one of the things I want to talk about specifically is what it takes to create a system series. So one, it is not easy to do, right? So there are many tabletop role-playing game one-off games where there is a creator who creates a core rulebook and then nothing more comes out, right? Then there are also a lot of creators who create a tabletop role-playing game. They have a core rulebook and then they have 5, 10, 20 source books, okay? System series go beyond that, right? This is a rule system that has multiple worlds and multiple genres and multiple games being supported by one rule system. These are really special and really quite rare, okay? All right, so there's 3 elements to them. There is a creator, there is the rules, and there is distribution. These are what you really need to make these work, and all 6 of these active system series have these have these elements, right? So I'm going to talk about every single one. I'm going to talk about every single one of these system series, and I'm specifically going to talk about what order do they have those elements in, and I'm going to talk first, best, middle, and last, worst, right? So, you know, what order each one of those elements has contributed to the success of the system series, right? I'm also going to do some comparison between these system series and say, oh, you know, I think this system series is a little better than this system series, but I want to make it super clear, right? I think, so I'm going to give you an example of a tabletop role-playing game that is not a system series. Here we go. So in 1990, Lawrence R. Sims created Battle Lords of the 23rd Century. I love that game. I'm a huge fan of that game, right? But the rule system of that was not enough to support multiple worlds and multiple genres and multiple games. It was just enough to support that game. And that game got multiple editions and it got multiple source books, right? But it wasn't enough to sustain a system series. And I'm going to say it right now. Every single creator I talk about right here, in my opinion, is better than all of the other game designers whose systems were not strong enough to support active system series. Just my take, right? And so these are, you know, so even though I'm going to be comparing them against each other, these are the top designers in the entire industry, because this is a feat above and beyond. Like, this isn't I created a core rulebook. This isn't I created a core rulebook and 20 source books. This is I created a rule system that was so exciting it supports multiple worlds, multiple genres, and multiple games, right? And that's what these active system series really are. They are the cream of the crop. Now, let's talk for one moment about D&D. Remember, Dungeons & Dragons really never competes with any of these other games. It is the progenitor, right? And it's just special. It's in a league of its own, right? So I'm kind of removing D&D out of this. We're going to talk a little bit more about D&D in a minute, but I want to talk about these active system series. Okay, so let's dive into them. All right, so Genesys, right? I'm also going to say what I think they are the most at. Okay, so let's talk about Genesys. I think Genesys is the most innovative of all the active system series. The narrative dice. So Genesys is the game that actually... Genesys is specifically a rule system that is a generic rule system that allows you to play in any kind of game you want. You can run a Sherlock Holmes game with that. You can run a Transformers game with it. You can run a completely custom game that comes off the top of your head. You can run a game about Dalmatian dogs that turn into ghosts. You can run anything you want with Cypher. With with the Genesys system, and it runs off the narrative dice that were invented for and were created for the Star Wars tabletop role-playing game that Fantasy Flight Games created. So Fantasy Flight Games actually makes Genesys. It made all the Star Wars games. It now has Genesys. It also has Realms of Terranoth. That is a active system series. Okay, all right. And there's more games coming out for that as well. Here's the order. The distribution is the best on this active system series. Distribution is top notch. Okay, and also the rules, fantastic. They really are quite good. And specifically, the narrative dice is that's the secret sauce here. It is incredible. It's the best physical innovation in any tabletop role-playing game since 1974, without a doubt, in my opinion. All right. Last is the creator, right? And the reason why is the creator is Sam Stewart, right? And the reality is FFG really doesn't elevate individual designers. They're like, this is an FFG game, man. And so I think Sam Stewart did a good job with Genesys, but he's not a TRPG rock star. He just isn't. Narrative dice are rock stars within the TRPG industry, and are more famous than Sam Stewart at this point. Just my take. All right, let's talk about PBTA. Right, Powered by the Apocalypse. It is by far the most diverse of all the active system series. Powered by the Apocalypse came out of Apocalypse World, which D. Vincent Baker created. He is the creator here, okay? Now, let's go through the order. The rules here are the absolute best element of the three. It's rules, then distribution, then creator, right? Rules, because the rules here have inspired, literally 36 different, I think there's over 30 different PBTA games. And they are so diverse. They cover every single subject you could ever want. They cover urban fantasy and science fiction, and there's virtually nothing that isn't covered by a PBTA game. Very indie, very niche, but it excited a lot. It was a catalyst for a lot of other creators beyond D. Vincent Baker. Now, I'm going to say, so the rules are the rock star here, right? The distribution is a mixture, right? There really, in my opinion, there really isn't very strong distribution on PBTA, on Powered by the Apocalypse games, but they still beat the creator. And the reason why is D. Vincent Baker. This is my take of it. Kind of every time I hear D. Vincent Baker kind of talk about PBTA games, it seems like he's surprised that other people wanted to use his rule set, right? And I think one of the reasons why this is D. Vincent Baker is a brilliant guy. But he took one of the best rule systems that was ever. It was the rule systems of PBTA is like a David statue. It is just amazing, right? And it's perfect. But D. Vincent Baker created this David statue and then buried it in his backyard. And what do I mean by that? Well, Apocalypse World. Apocalypse World is like NSFW pretty much, and is completely there's this amazing rule system in a world that begs people not to play the game, right? And the only reason PBTA, in my opinion, became what it did was Sage Latora and Adam Cobell creating Dungeon World, digging that David statue out of the ground and representing it to the world in a very user-friendly, game master-friendly, player-friendly way, right? The Master of Ceremonies, the MC, that's what they call it in PBTA. And so the creator here is literally kind of the least of those three elements as far as rules, distribution, and creator. It's creator's last here. That's my take, right? Okay, Blades in the Dark, boom, right? Blades in the Dark, 20. Okay, a lot of people don't even know what Blades in the Dark is. It is, but I am so super hyped on this game. It's one of my absolute all-time favorite tabletop role-playing games. And I think it's the future of the hobby. I really think Blades in the Dark is the future in the hobby. Not because a million people are going to play it, but because of the influence of John Harper. The creator on so here's the split on this. Blades in the Dark is creator, rules, distribution. Okay, and by the way, Blades in the Dark is the most new. It is the most new of all the active system series. All right, so Blades in the Dark. Let's talk about Blades in the Dark. All right, the creator is an absolute game TRPG design Mac. He is just top of the pile, right? Except, within the active system series, I think he's by far the best, okay? Why is he the future of all tabletop role-playing games, in my opinion? Well, here's why. He's right up around the Seattle area. He's friends with Kate Welch, and I think he is the most ingenious designer there is, and he's got like a dotted line right to Dungeons & Dragons 6th edition. So I think that Kate Welch is going to be the lead designer for Dungeons & Dragons 6th edition. John Harper has dinner with Kate Welch every now and then, and they're good. They're friends, and she talks about his games at Origins. When you read Blades in the Dark, it is such a work of art as far as rules design. You see, this guy is on another level, right? He really is just on another level, right? So Blades in the Dark is amazing. Scum and Villainy, and what else? Oh, Dogs in the Bark and a whole bunch of other games are Forged in the Dark. That's what they're calling it. Great name. Love it, right? And so, by the way, Blades in the Dark is the most new. And so it is the one that has the least number, but it is growing quickly, and it's really excited a lot of creators. And I think it's going to be a robust, continuing to be, it is an active system series, and it's just going to continue to grow. Let's talk about Fate. Fate is by far the most established of all the active system series. It's been around for well over 10 years. It was on tabletop with Will Wheaton, who is Wesley Crusher, and Felicia Day played with Ryan Macklin. This game has celebrities playing it on YouTube channels that have 1 million views on a video. It's crazy. It's very, very high, right? Now, what do the Fate games have? They have crazy good distribution, fantastic distribution, right? The creator is Fred Hicks, and I think he is a workhorse. He's like a craftsman, right? Lower on the artist side, I feel he's just a producer, right? A really solid general producer, and he produces good games all under the Fate banner, and Fate is really helpful, and they release everything for free, right? So they are the most established, and I'm going to add this right now, they're also the most generous. Every single one of their games is given away for free as a PDF, right? Or most of at minimum, most of their games are a free PDF model. And, hey, I'm blessed. I can buy any tabletop role-playing game I want, right? But not everybody's got that. And so I have just I'm mad respect for Fred Hicks, continuing to do that over years. I can't think that that's taking some dollars out of his pocket. It's got to be hard at times, especially when when it's hard keeping those lights on, I just have a huge amount of respect for Fred Hicks. He's really, really fantastic producer, right? And Fate just continues to grow. All right, let's talk about Cypher, right? Cypher is created by Monty Cook Games, and I'll do this. Its creator, I'm sorry. With Fate, it was distribution, the creator, and the rule system. The rule system are very good. I don't think the Fate dice are that awesome, and that's why it comes last, but it's got great distribution, great creator, and the rules are solid, okay? Let's talk about Cypher. Cypher is made by Monty Cook Games. The split here is creator, distribution, rules, and let's talk about them. Cypher is the most controlled. Monty Cook Games does not, a lot of these other games, not all of them, but a lot of them, if somebody gets excited and they're like, I'd love to create a new Powered by the Apocalypse game. Well, D. Vincent Vega's going to go, whatever, I'm doing stuff. And I even think, Blades in the Dark, John Harper's going to be like, that's great, I can't wait to see what you got, buddy. Right? If you roll up on Monty Cook Games with, your idea for a game under Cypher, he's going to be like, well, let's take a look, man. I got, serious control on my brand here. He takes brand very, very seriously. So Cypher is by far the most controlled of all the Active Directory games. Right? My IT background slipping out there. All the active system series here, right? So Cypher is by far the most controlled. Monty Cook is an absolute, pure, dyed-in-the-wool, old-school, veteran game designer. He worked on Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition, and then he worked on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and he dropped out in the middle because we don't really know what happened between him and Mike Mearls. I think some stuff went down. I would love to read a book on that topic. I still don't think we know what happened in those days. And so Monty Cook bounced out and started up Monty Cook Games, and now they go like this. Brrr, right? And what is that? Brrr? That is just Kickstarter, 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 Kickstarter. All of them crazy successful, right? Like, they just have Kickstarter on lock, right? Like, and they just released, so they do a lot of Cypher games. Here's some Cypher games. Cypher, the generic rule system itself. Predation, Gods of the Fall, The Strange, Numenera. There's just a ton, right? And each one of those has books within the series, right? He's got Bruce R. Cordell under there. He's got Shauna Germain under there. He's got like Sean K. Reynolds. Like Monty Cook's got this stuff down. He is setting the template for how you run a TRPG company, right? And he has an active system series, right? Monty Cook is the secret sauce here. He is really he is the reason Cypher is awesome. Distribution is off the chain. They do such a good job with distribution. And then the rules are great. They are just really solid. I don't even want to put them last, but I've got a structure here, right? It's really good, right? Okay, let's talk about Tiny Universe. Tiny Universe Tiny Universe is really unique. It's a really rules-light system, and then it has this beautiful thing called micro settings, and they put micro settings into these games, and it's really neat. And so they get a lot of writers, and they add these micro settings to all the Tiny Universe games. They have Tiny Supers, Tiny Wasteland, Tiny Dungeon, Tiny Mecha and Monsters, so many. And all of them fit under that active system series, right? And it's very rules light, very approachable by new players, and this is the most scrappy, right? Now let's talk about it. Here it's going to be creator, rules, distribution, right? The creator is Alan Barr, and Alan Barr he's like a one-man band, works really hard. He has a team that works with him, but he's driving the energy of that little shop, and it's on a little smaller side, right? But they have an active system series, right? And I think that's really important. And the rules are really approachable, and last is the distribution. And the thing I love about Tiny Universe is with each iterative release, you can see an increase in quality for Tiny Universe. Alan Barr is a very strong the creator. This is the most scrappy of all the active system series. Now, the thing to remember about active system series is that every single time you look at an active system series, actually, whenever there's a new tabletop role-playing game that is created, let's take one for example. Renegade Games is bringing out Overlight. I'm so excited about Overlight tabletop role-playing game coming out very, very soon, like within a month or two. It releases in September, actually. When they created that world, they had to think, do we deserve to make our own rules for this, right? Or should this be a Genesys game, a PBTA game, a Blades in the Dark game, a Cypher game, and a Tiny Universe game? By the way, did I cover Genesys? If I didn't, let me do it real quick. Genesys is the most innovative, and it is distribution rules creator. And I did cover it earlier. Sorry. Okay, so let's talk about budding. But every single freestanding world has to say, do I create my own rules, or do I attach this to one of these active system series? Genesys or PBTA or Blades in the Dark or Fate or Cypher or Tiny Universe. And that's a real thing that every single tabletop role-playing game creator should be asking themselves, and many of them don't, but they absolutely should, right? And it's important. All right, let's talk about some budding games that could be budding into the active series. So one is Index Card RPG. There's a couple games that have rule sets that look virtually identical, and it looks like some people are buzzing around and talking to Hankrin Farinale, the creator there, and saying, hey, maybe I'd like to do the ICRPG system for my game, right? And I think that's a great idea. I love that game, and I think that's a game that's budding toward being an active system series. 2D20 by Modifius. There's just a couple games under that umbrella. Conan's one of them, and that is budding toward being an actual active system series. Let's talk about why you would not be an active system series. So Dungeons and Dragons does not have an active system series. Well, and I can hear it. What about D20? D20's dead. All right, like in my opinion, right? I read Talladori campaign guide. Right, here's the thing. Every single OGL setting that comes out for that is, you can't make a setting for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, right? You can make a game that says compatible with 5e. They won't even let you attach the Dungeons and Dragons name to it. And the OGL is 18 years old. 18 years old. 18 years old. Every single one of those OGLs is dated from 2000, because I think that Dungeons and Dragons is actually just honoring the OGL from the 3rd edition, didn't have the cojones to shut that thing down. I don't think Dungeons and Dragons actually supports an active system series. I think they're like, we're Dungeons and Dragons, man. We don't need nobody. And you know what? They are right? That is, frankly, it's not the best rule system in the world. It's not even close to the best rule system in the world, right? But what it is it is the best tabletop role-playing game in the world, without a doubt, right? Like, and it doesn't even compete. It's the progenitor, right? It's just in a league of its own. All right, Pathfinder does not have an active system series. I'm 100% aware of Starfinder. By the way, I have to call out, Paizo is crushing it with Starfinder. They're just doing amazing work with that game. Core rulebook had its issues, but the source books they're putting out for that thing are absolutely fantastic. They look great. They're so consistent. They are just super, super high quality. But that was just put out as, oh my gosh, Pathfinder 1E, what the heck are we going to do? We need to do something new, right? So that to me was a move of desperation. It's just one game. There aren't and it's really just kind of an extension of Pathfinder into the future. It doesn't, in my opinion, qualify as an active system series, and yeah, just doesn't. Okay, all right. But why are Paizo and WotC choosing not to make active system series out of their games? Here's why. When you create an active system series, it can diffuse your energy, the energy that your company has to make games. It can produce quality gaps. Fate and PBTA both have these. They have some stellar games, and they have some games that are not stellar, right? Brand control and consistency. Monty Cook is so like when you have all like PBTA and Fate, like what is their brand? Their games are all over, right? So it kind of degenerates that consistency of brand. And overall, it's risky. You can overextend your company, right? So these are 4 solid reasons to not create a system series, right? Real quick, I want to talk about the Fallen and the Stagnant. So these are games that are either fallen, like they are no longer even produced. These are system series that no longer exist and are no longer active making active games, or they have gone stagnant. And I just want to kind of call them out just to recognize what they've done in the past. TriTac by TTG Games, the D6 system, the D20 system by Wizards of the Coast, GURPS by Steve Jackson, and I know there's a lot of GURPS fans out there, but just like, I just don't really see a lot of people playing that game anymore. You don't really see it at cons. It's mostly just selling its old stuff, Megaversal by Palladium Games, Cortex Plus by Margaret Weiss Games, and Margaret Weiss just went back to writing her novels again. She's not focused on that company. Silhouette by DreamPod 9, Unisystem by Eden Studios. These are all either fallen or stagnant system series games. System series games really speak to the robustness of our hobby, and also essentially, basically, system series games are incredibly important to what we have as a tabletop role-playing game industry, and I really think these are incredible feats. And my hat is off to all these incredible creators: Monty Cook, John Harper, D. Vincent Baker, Alan Barr, Fred Hicks, and Sam Stewart. Every one of these guys is above and beyond everybody who went and made a game and it supported their core rulebook, or it supported their core rulebook and it supported a bunch of source books. These are games that bear the weight of multiple worlds, multiple genres, and multiple games, and I got mad respect for them. please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you.